Who's my number 4? Queen.
I'm actually going to pass it to my sister after we do.
Okay, so y'all set me up.
No.
Go ahead.
All right, Dr. Umar, my name is Diane, resident here in Kansas City, and I am one of those ugly black feminists that you are not a fan of. So I appreciate you coming here to Kansas City, and I figure if I'm going to have something to say, I'm going to say it to your face, so I do appreciate it. I do appreciate you addressing my concerns regarding anti-LGBT rhetoric and anti-feminist rhetoric, so I appreciate you saying that up front. So my question is, the exact definition of hate speech is speech that offends, threatens, insults groups based on race, color, religion, natural origin, sexual orientation, disability, or other traits. That is the definition of hate speech. We can say all day long that we don't hate a particular type of person, but I want to know, how is that rhetoric any different than white folks that say that black people are thugs, are mentally not together, that we are unintelligent? How is it possible? How is that not different as a black man saying that black feminists are ugly, saying that queer people are, you said it earlier, I can see you on tape. How is that different than saying that gay people are molested, that we are pedophiles? How is that any different than white people? He has said that online, and I have the video. Yes, you have. No, you did say that online.
I was accused and derided, as some of you guys know, because of my position on sexual confusion in the African American community. And I understand we may have a few visitors tonight, and I don't mind, okay, of that community. And so I think it's important that I clarify my perspective on black homosexuality and lesbianism so that we're all crystal clear on where I stand. Yes, it is true, I do not support it. Yes, it is true, I do not condone it. But it is absolutely false if anyone says that Dr. Umar Johnson hates any of my brothers and sisters who practice a traditional lifestyle, a non-traditional form of marriage.
Right, so my question is, how is this anti-woman, anti-gay rhetoric any different than white folks who say that black people are dumb, that we're thugs? Homophobia is hate speech, and anti-womanness is hate speech.
Okay. May I respond?
You can.
All right. Now, first, we got to take the emotionalism out of it. We won't be able to dialogue. Okay? I'm going to respond, but for the sake of time, I'm going to answer everybody's question. And if you like, when I'm done, me and you can have a private, respectful conversation. Okay? Now, okay, well, let me do this one, I'm going to go through, then we can come back to it, if you want to have that conversation. Number 1, and because I got ADHD, I didn't remember everything, but I think I could get to most of the highlights of what you said. First, you said homophobia.
Yes. Oh, you're going to tell me that it's a mental illness from an outdated DSM-3 that was abolished in 1973? Don't try it.
That's like history.
This is not the
DSM-5?
This is the DSM-5.
Oh, that we're mentally ill. Go ahead. Go ahead. I just want to hear you answer the question.
And I'm going to be respectful to you, okay? I didn't pick this up to talk about the fact that homosexuality was a mental illness in this book until 1974. But since you brought it up, I'll start with that. If you read the American Psychiatric Association position paper on the removal of homosexuality from this book as a mental illness, and I have it, it's available online, it clearly says that we did not change this classification because we had sufficient evidence to prove that people were born this way. So one of the questions that got to be dealt with from the Eurocentric mental health framework that we're dealing with this issue in, why was it removed? Now, having said that, I picked up the book to ask you on what page is the mental illness homophobia.
It's not a mental illness. It's a disease, just like racism is a disease.
Who defined homophobia as a disease? This is the authority of mental illness. Where is the diagnosis homophobia?
It's not a diagnosis. It's a state of being. It's a state of being.
Phobia.
It's a
A
state
phobia.
of being.
A phobia.
Okay.
is in this book.
Okay, so hate
And
speech
a
against gay
phobia,
people.
let me,
Okay.
phobia is fear. Simple phobia, any type of claustrophobia, it's a fear. You said homophobia. I'm not afraid of nobody. I've been asked by homosexuals and lesbians to have conversations with them on their radio shows. I normally accept the invitation for respectful dialogue. I don't run from the opportunity if it's going to be respectful. Now, I stand by my position as a psychologist, as an educator, as a therapist for normally 20 years. And in 95% of the cases of gay and lesbians I personally know and met and worked with, most of them were victims of sexual abuse as children. I'm speaking not what some white person wrote in some research study. I'm telling you what I know. Amongst black folk, it is a pathology born of childhood sexual victimization. Denial is at the root of all mental illness. It's easy to say, I was born like this, so I don't have to deal with the pain that triggered it. Now.
Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and welcome to Dr. Boyce and Noma Langa. I'm here with Noma Langa Mushali Moses from HealthyBlackWoman.com. How are you doing today, Noma?
I'm doing great, Boyce. How are you?
I'm doing really well, but not as well as you. You're all the way in Botswana today, so
Yeah.
reporting from Africa. How awesome is that? So how was your trip?
Everything's great. I'm enjoying some warm weather after being buried in snow in Boston.
Oh gosh, I bet that's an amazing switch. I mean, it's what's the temperature there?
Today was a 100-degree day, if
And-
not
And I
thereabouts.
And I take it it's not 100 degrees in Boston. Maybe
Not
a-
even half or a quarter. No,
May-
maybe a quarter of that. 25 degrees, 17 degrees, I think, or something like that.
Maybe you'll get 100 feet of snow or negative 100 degrees, but not 100 degrees. Yeah, in Boston can't get that warm in the summertime. We know that. Well, I'm excited because I'm actually going to be on the other side of the earth with you pretty soon too. I'm going to the motherland. I'm going to Johannesburg in a couple of days, and we're going to get a chance to hang out down there as well. And I'm looking forward to it. So this is cool. This is great. And I encourage people that are watching, to learn more about the continent of Africa, learn about the different countries, learn about all the great cities that are there. I know Noma Langa loves going back to her home country of Botswana. Is that correct?
That is true.
Yeah.
My origin is I was born and raised in Botswana, but I also love South Africa, where you'll be, because that is where my Xhosa, my tradition, I guess I should say my cultural identity comes from.
Oh wow. Well, that's awesome. I look forward to it. I think it'll be fun to, when you're there, and there'll be a group of us, and we'll get a chance to kind of learn about the culture and see things. I've never been to South Africa before. I've been in Nigeria, and I'm very excited. So, okay. So speaking of the great continent of Africa and all the great things going on in Africa, there's one person that is defined to be a Pan-Africanist, Dr. Umar Johnson. Who I happen to think Dr. Johnson is awesome. And that does not mean thinking someone's awesome doesn't mean you agree with everything they say. But some of my greatest heroes, I agree with a lot of what they say, and then some things I say, well, I don't agree with that, but I like what they're doing, and I include people like Muhammad Ali, Minister Louis Farrakhan, etc. Umar Johnson is a guy who has some strong opinions. He's not liberal. He's not conservative. He's concerned about the diaspora, the black family. And he has these positions that don't always align with American liberalism. And he was confronted this week by or I don't know if it happened this week. I have to look at the exact date. But there's a video that's been circulating where he's been confronted by a really I'd say a really angry feminist. She's also, I think she identifies with the LGBT community. She used the word "we" when she talked about her LGBT experience. And she seemed to feel that Dr. Johnson's words represent hate speech, that he's just as bad as the racists that say horrible things about black people and stuff like that. Now, I sent you that video to get your take on it. I was curious to hear your perspective, as a woman, but then also as a person who is from Botswana, who believes in the traditional family and things like that. I was curious to know your take on kind of how the exchange went and what your perception was.
Well, I did see the video, and I loved how he responded, because he started by saying, let's take out the emotionalism out of it, which obviously he's saying, let's have a discussion without our emotions clouding it. But what I heard when he was talking was he clearly said that he does not tolerate nor condone the homosexual lifestyle, but he said he had no hatred towards them. And I've seen a lot of his speeches and videos and so forth, and I think sometimes what happens is when a person supports one thing, they're automatically put in a category of being against something else. In other words, like, I speak a lot about, I believe in marriage and family. I believe that's the foundation of a solid community, especially the Black community, in America, because I think that that's how we can begin to repair not all, but at least a lot of the things that are wrong. So I support family, I support marriage, but that doesn't mean that I have anything against the gay community. And I think that Umar Johnson is in a similar category, although I can't say I can co-sign everything that he says.
Well, it's really interesting. It seems that when people are fighting, and Americans are really, and I know people around the world can be, crazy in their own way. America, we have our own brand of crazy. And one of our brands of crazy in politics is that we get to this point where we will throw rocks at people and, tell lies if we have to. We will accuse you of being something that you're not, and it will include. We'll sort of make your rhetoric sort of this all-inclusive band of hatred where you hate everyone of a certain group. For example, I heard this woman say that Johnson's words were anti-gay, anti-woman. And I think anybody who's watched Umar speak, as I have, I've seen a lot of his videos and stuff like that, and I met him. He's certainly not anti-woman. He's not anti-anybody. I mean, he talks about black women in a way that's loving and uplifting. He doesn't, so the idea that, that someone could say, you hate women, to me that's a very politically charged kind of statement where you're trying to somehow reshape who he is into this sexist anti-woman creature in order to pursue your own agenda. You're trying to say to other women, hey, he hates you too. He hates all women. And that's just not true. That's absolutely not true. And I think, the conversation was really interesting too, because, it really got into a conversation about homophobia. And I like the way Umar handled that question as well, because, he said, look, what is a phobia? He said a phobia is a mental illness. It's a fear. And he was like, I'm not afraid of anything. I don't know if you didn't see that. I don't know if you saw that part, but he says, I'm not afraid of anybody. I'm not scared of homosexuality. He said, I just don't condone it. I'm not a fan of it. And so the question becomes, how do we, or do people even care enough to take the time to distinguish between someone who does not support homosexuality versus someone who is against homosexual people? I think that's a distinction that a lot of people just don't make. They say that if you don't completely accept and completely applaud and completely condone and completely support the life that I live or who I am, then you must be against me. And I wonder if that is kind of pushing it a little bit too far. What do you think?
Like I said, I do think that sometimes people want to label and box people. Believe it or not, I've heard people say that I'm against things that I don't even know what they're talking about. I've heard that I hate Africans, even though I am African. I've heard that I hate African Americans, even though I'm African American. It just depends what I'm talking about at that particular time. And then a person pulls just tidbits of what you've said or what I've said and then turns it into something else. So I personally know that that can happen. However, I stand by what I said before. I believe in family, I believe in marriage, and I think that's the way forward. I do think there's room for everybody. I think I say that in almost every topic. I just don't think that we should start to function as a society that is geared towards the gay or homosexual lifestyle when the majority of us are not. And I think that's what's kind of happening is we're supposed to support it. We're supposed to put it in schools. We're supposed to do everything to support this lifestyle when the majority of people are really not living that lifestyle. And that borders on oppression.
Well, I definitely can say that I know a lot of people who feel they feel pressured to sort of conform to things that they're not comfortable with, and a lot of it's happened really under Obama. I mean, the President Obama has really pushed this issue. It's very personal to him. I don't know exactly why, but it's something that's really close to his heart, and I think that it's interesting that. That we've gotten to the point where I think a lot of people are just kind of tired of being told that they have to appreciate something or want to be connected to something that they may not necessarily want to be connected to. I don't think they necessarily care one way or the other, but I think to sort of jump out and to call. I understand the hurt that may come from abused people or people who've been disrespected by society, absolutely. But to kind of jump out and ambush Umar Johnson, for example, and say you're anti-gay, you're anti-woman, you're anti. To me, I think that's disingenuous. I think it's not it's just not a fair conversation. Look, just if you want to know what he thinks, ask him what he thinks, and you can debate the issue. But understand, he has a right to be who he wants to be, and you have a right to be who you want to be. And I think that that's as fair as you can get.
Right. And the other thing I wanted to say is she said he was anti-womanist, which is another word that I suppose is supposed to differentiate some form of feminism. But, womanist or feminist, it's the same kind of thing. And again, one thing I will say about feminism is sometimes when people hear me talking, they think I'm a feminist because I talk a lot about women being empowered. I talk about women being treated fairly, women standing up, being confident, all those things. So people think, oh, you're a feminist. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I never will be. And the reason why I say that is because, having lived in the U.S. probably not more, but actually my whole adult life, I've seen what feminism is about, and I don't want to be associated with that. In fact, I was participating in a Facebook discussion just earlier today, and I said that, we can push for women to be treated fairly, we can empower women, we can do all kinds of things for women without wearing a title that immediately throws us into this category that was created by white women all that time ago for their own cause that had nothing to do with us.
Well, I will give my quick take on feminism is that there are a lot of women that are and men that support feminism for good reasons. I think that they truly believe, in the quest for equality. They truly believe, in the idea of women being treated fairly in our society. And I have so much respect for what they're seeking to do. I think that what happens though is that if you're not deeply entrenched in the political game, you can say, "Oh, well, feminism, that sounds good. I want to be part of that," right? Like Beyonce. Like Beyonce is not a political analyst, so if you say, "Hey, women should be treated fairly, join us," she's going to say, "Sure." But here's the thing, you've got these political operatives almost, these individuals that are deeply entrenched in the game who are manipulating these masses into, very distorted positions that are just, that are untruthful, that are unhealthy, that are hurtful to other people, that are oppressive, and that are destructive, to our society and to the black family. And so I would say it's almost like you've got this crust of feminism where they're pushing the whole image of feminism in the wrong direction. They're hurting the cause of feminism because they're getting to the point where they are actually hurting other people in order to get their point across or to pursue their agenda. It becomes very anti-man after, for some after a point, and I think that's what turns a lot of people off. So I think that someone needs to really reclaim feminism so that it does become more palatable to the masses. Because I think 10 years ago, 20 years ago, someone like you would have said, yes, I want, I'm okay with feminism. I want to be a part of that. But I think when you get to the point where people are just telling lies and attacking people and, oh, you're anti-woman because you won't agree with everything I say. Nobody wants to be a part of that. It comes off very, very nasty, very angry, very hurt. You know, and it's just not fair. And that's why I can't. There was a time, literally, Norma, where I used to say, yeah, sure, I'll be a feminist because I have daughters. I want women to be
Me
treated
too.
fairly. Right, but once I did my research and I started seeing, you know, how some people, not all, some feminists operate, I said I can't be a part of this. This is a lie. Like these people some of them are really hurting other people, and I can't be a part of this street gang. It can become like a political street gang,
Exactly.
and I don't want a part of that. So I'll let you get the last word.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time remembering the name of the young woman who spoke at the Oscars. The video's been going around, and there's articles been written about it. Her last name, I think, is Arquette. But one of the things that she said was that black people should support white women in feminism. The gay people should support white women to gain equality. And again, that's where we can get to the bottom of this issue. Where, wait a minute, so we're supposed to abandon the things that mean something to us, our struggles, what we've been pushing for so long, and take a privileged white woman in Hollywood's position. That doesn't even make any sense. And when I started to look at some of the messages that were coming through feminism, I started to see that it was just not for me. I don't want the destruction of the black family. I'm actually on the very, very opposite end of the spectrum. And there are feminists who will say, no, that's not what it's about. But unfortunately, there's a loud voice that says that that's what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely. And any anybody who wants to chastise you for having your view should know that you're a strong, empowered woman. Your husband doesn't, he respects you, and you have a wonderful family, and you have a partnership. You and your husband really love each other. He loves you. You love him back, and there's harmony there. And I
Right.
think that's what you can achieve, when you're not so focused on emasculation and constantly winning and all these other things. So, again, respect to those feminists who are doing it for the right reasons, but I think those who are operating in a dirty fashion, I don't respect that. I don't support that. I think it's wrong. I think it's hurtful to the black family, and I will never align myself with anything that's that destructive. So, thank you very much, Noma. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And everybody, this is Noma Lang and Mashali Moses from HealthyBlackWoman.com. I am Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. Until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.